All right, hello. We've been sitting here for a few minutes now, waiting for the dogs to shut up. We'll see how this goes. We went to a ball with Sophia Nygaard, and we made a ball gown for Sophia Nygaard, and it was great. We had a great time. Sophia's released the video. It's been great. Girls, responses have been lovely. We thought we would watch Sophia's video and then basically kind of treat it like a director's commentary.
All the things that got forgotten or didn't get on camera.
And just kind of go through it that way. So that way, if you've seen the video, this is basically meant to go with it.
In fact, I think that's my dress now.
I knocked so loudly that someone in another room nearby thought that they were having someone knock on their door.
I forgot about that.
Another person kept like trying to answer their door, not realizing. And we did it like 3 or 4 times. And it felt really bad afterwards anyway.
I've discovered an entire fashion history community filled with creators who, beyond crafting, sewing, and styling incredibly beautiful and intricate historical clothing, also regularly get together for historical balls, teas, cruises, and soirees to have a place to show off their latest creations. And this community, of course, includes our friends Abby Cox and Nicole Rudolph, who took us to Colonial Williamsburg a few years ago to show us the ropes. And the leatherworks. And so when Abby and Nicole invited me to—
I like that she included the ranch nuns in that, because that's like such an iconic fucking like bit that we all did.
Like, I'm tired of pretty costumes. Let's do weird things.
A couple years ago, we all decided to go to the Renaissance Fair as Sisters of the Hidden Valley. We were in medieval nun habits, but we also looked like ranch bottles.
And handed out ranch packets.
And it went kind of viral, and Hidden Valley Ranch sent us
so much ranch.
I didn't know ranch bottles could have that much merch, but it was awesome. That's it. That's the thing. So we like to do weird stuff in costume. Okay.
A Victorian ball hosted by their friend Sosteen in Chicago this past spring, and said that they would give me a goth Victorian makeover for the occasion. Of course, I said yes. Duh.
That is actually pretty accurate.
Yeah. I was like, hey, there's a thing. Do you want to go? Well, yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty good. It looks like tickets are sold out, though. We got you.
1 second. I love this graphic. Like, these graphics were, like, I love this. I was like, oh my God, this is so good.
We gotta pick a decade. Drove themselves and a car full of fabric.
Okay, so in that shot, I was, when I was driving, I was listening to Joey Valence and Bray, just so you all know. I think it was probably What Up, What Up.
Oh my God.
I didn't realize MJ got footage of the
MJ got so much footage of so many things.
Yeah.
Just sat in the back going, this is great.
I don't think you're ready for the takedown. Don't think Marie actually said that. I've always thought she was a very nice lady. But
I was distracted by hillbilly hot dogs, I'm sorry.
I think if she wanted everyone to eat cake, it's because maybe she wanted to have like a big, like, birthday party for friends.
TBOYBBNO $sign.
It would be very exciting, very French.
The only reason I have not cut off your head so far is because we will use you in the court later to prove why we did all of this.
For a long journey.
It wasn't that bad.
The note there is that's the part where we were like booking it over the mountains, and I'm just like white knuckling my way through like horrendous traffic, and we finally got through the traffic, and Abby was like, and
kneecap, let's go.
It was like, we can't stop for coffee, go.
For those of you all who heard it, yes, that was kneecap.
And they've brought me some treasures. And it turns out that Abby, ever opinionated, already had a distinct vision of what we should do.
Please, can we do 1870s? Please, Sophia, I want to put you in 1870s so bad.
Who am I to say no to such passion? I think she wanted to do—
That's all I heard about for like 3 months leading up to it. The moment it was, okay, you're like, we're doing 1870s, right? And I'm like, I'm not the one to make that decision.
I started thinking about this all the way back at Colonial Williamsburg.
Yeah, because you're like, I want to put her in something that is specific to her body shape and proportions and different eras for different people. Like, every era can look good on everyone, but there are some eras that just work on certain people. Not everybody can pull off this era, like, easily.
I mean, she talks about it here, it's like the whole shorter torso, longer leg thing. but it's also like just Sophia's features, and
she has the right shoulders for it,
like,
and the proportions of everything.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we can see it at the end, right? Like, because if you haven't watched the video, spoiler, she looked amazing. Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in here and take a minute to get a little bit serious with you all and try to get through this without crying. Let's consider this both a minor life update as well as a chance for me to tell you about the sponsor of this video, ZocDoc, and I promise that it's related and it's also important. So just bear with me here, okay? I'm not gonna mince words with you all. Things are pretty rough over here right now for me and my friend group. One of our dearest friends is extremely ill, and it happened really suddenly. So much so that in May, we were all on vacation together, like a first real vacation, riding roller coasters and having fun. And last week, I was at her home helping take care of her, take her to doctor's appointments, and just trying to keep her fed and in as little pain as possible. And something that has been so difficult about this entire process is watching one of my best friends struggle to be heard by doctors, to have her symptoms and pain be taken seriously, and for her to be able to schedule appointments quickly and effectively. This is where ZocDoc comes in. They're a completely free online platform that allows you to search and compare local and in-network doctors. They have more than 150,000 providers with over 200 specialties across all 50 states. And when you search, you'll have access to real patient reviews, whether they're in your insurance network or out of network, as well as their availability. You can also schedule appointments directly through ZocDoc, sometimes even for the same day. Look, I understand that going to the doctor can be scary, it's stressful, it's not a great experience usually, but it is something that we have to do. Additionally, I want to take this moment to say that if you are someone who is in possession of a uterus, cervix, ovaries, and fallopian tubes, and you haven't had a physical recently, please go and schedule one right now. And if you don't have a regular OBGYN or you've recently moved, please go to ZocDoc.com/AbbyCox to find one in your area. Make an appointment today. I don't get any affiliate or kickback money from you all using that link. All it does is allow the brand to track the origin of incoming traffic. It's just a really weird coincidence that my personal life and professional life have met at this particular crossover, and also gives me a chance to do a sort of PSA for reproductive organ health. Again, I would like to thank ZocDoc for sponsoring this video and for helping make it easier for us to find doctors and care providers. Now that serious little conversation's over, we can get back to having some fun, talking about 1870s gowns, Sophia Nygaard going to balls, and all that good stuff. And also why I crawled around on the floor of a warehouse like a worm. Real fast, because I found this. This is actually the skirt pattern that we used. Just so you all know, I can't get into frame. To have it hit my ankle, it is over my boobs. That's how much leg Sophia has. If I was to have it touch the ground, it is still
now Regency, yeah.
That's how long she is. She is all leg.
What was the vibe?
Booty. Bustle. We
Booty.
love it.
Love it.
The interesting thing is that the skirt and the bodice, though they look like they go together, don't. They're actually completely separate time period. Mm-hmm. Like they're similar years, but
yes.
A completely different outfit.
Yes. It was just June, get out. It was a popular color. This kind of wine purple was just a really popular color.
So they look like they're meant to go together, but stylistically they very much are. Like there's a little bit of difference in terms of the Van Dyking sort of style and the lace on the skirt. Yeah. But it's just a good basic pattern. I think that's the crazy thing that we'll kind of get to with the way that we do the construction for this, is that historic clothing, especially in the 19th century, is very much make the basic shape, get it fitted, and then just go and change the style and change the trim, and all of that stuff goes on top of it. So the shape of this bodice is the shape of nearly every other bodice from this era. Yeah. Like proportions change a little bit in terms of seams body to body, but you'll find pretty much this exact same shape used on literally dozens, if not hundreds of examples in museums.
The chemise or underlayer, followed by the
Just your ancient thing, you're like, I got this, it's fine.
I'm wearing anything
Okay, so the reason we say that is because Sophia is actually wearing my historic underwear in this section. They were clean. Don't get weird.
She didn't have anything. You grabbed your stuff.
As like
And just because it was easy, because it's one of the strapless types that we can get out of the way.
Yeah, so it's an envelope chemise that's supposed to be for like the 19-teens, but it's like really great for...
You just had so many of them. You're like, I'll just grab one. I was like, okay.
And like my split drawers from like ages ago.
Yeah, and then for the actual event, we used my chemise, which was off the shoulder style, which did end up like annoyingly on one shoulder only, kept trying to
You can
pop
see
out.
it drives me nuts every time I see it.
You don't want to put the corset up against your actual skin.
No.
That's uncomfortable.
Ew.
And then you can't wash the corset.
No.
Then it's gross. Wear even just a tube top on your corset.
Yeah. The other thing is obviously in historic underwear, you don't wear modern underwear underneath of it because the split drawers are split for a reason. It's easier to go to the bathroom that way. So that's also something that we're like joking about is like it, because she was like, well, should I? I'm like, you do you. It's none of my business what goes on underneath of there. I might have spent a lot of time under her skirts, but it was none of my business.
For the first structural piece, a spoon bust corset that Abby had made for me herself. Named for the spoon-shaped curve.
You had made based off of the original, but with only bare minimum measurements and the concept of what her shape is.
Yeah, I basically was like, Nicole, I do not have the brain space to adjust this pattern. Here is the pulled pattern from the antique.
We know that she's a little bit taller overall, even if she is short torsoed.
Yeah.
And we know waist and bust and hip just in case.
And I was like, here, can you just adjust that for me, please? Because I am, my brain is like, nope.
And my brain does that. It does not
Yeah.
always want to sit down and sew things, but it's always fine patterning.
Yeah.
So I patterned, you stitched, and it fit perfectly.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's like what's crazy is, I don't think this was filmed, but we had her try on the corset the night before, like when we arrived, because I was like, we need to know.
Yeah, we got there at like 7 o'clock at night. They
Yeah.
work late hours, and we're like, just for our sanity,
Please
try this on
Like,
real
please.
fast.
And she put it on, and I just like ran around the warehouse screaming, like, yeah! Like,
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't too small, it wasn't too big.
No
it was
adjustments to be made, and it's just, it goes to show if you get the right expected like body proportions out of something, you can adjust it. If we were trying to adjust that corset for you or for somebody else, like it might take a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Just depending on the proportions.
Yeah. One of the things she does call out, because when we review the video, I made a note, like this is actually a spoon bust corset you can see like here. We did not use a spoon bust for hers, in part because while they still manufacture spoon busts, there's like two sizes. There's like two lengths. It's like 12 and 14. And I think for her corset, she was literally like 13. So I was like, nope, no spoon bust for you. Sorry.
That, and
Like-
it's like, it does require you to sit very differently because there's a lot more mass, and
Oh, they hated them in the Victorian period.
yeah.
Like I wrote about it in the book.
They're not-
They were not.
they're not more comfortable.
No.
They're just more control in the front, and if you're sitting the wrong way, not only does it jab into your legs, it also jabs into your bone.
Yeah. So these were not.
It's not good. I have one that I made, and I was like, it's not my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's actually, so like this is the only corset I have that has a spoon bust in it, and this is actually one of the reasons why I think a lot of people mislabel this kind of era as like later with the spoon bust, because it was between when it was patented and like when you see it in advertisements, it's actually a really small window. And so like to me, this corset is actually an 1870s corset. They hated them. They found them extremely uncomfortable in the time period, and so I was not sorry. The other thing is that she doesn't talk about, this corset actually has cording here around the hip. It's really interesting how it's put together in that this is one long piece here where the cording is, and then these pieces are shorter. So they actually end at the waist. So nothing actually goes other than these two like larger side bone pieces, which are laid
Just there
over.
to keep it from going.
Yeah, that just kind of help hold it in place. It actually sits like right there really nicely, and so there's no boning down here other than the bust and then the back pieces. So it's a bunch of smaller pieces that are then put together to then create the shape. So it's actually a really comfortable shape. I'm also going to say this because I saw just one person I mean, like, there's a lot more comments now, but I saw one person said something about lacing Sophia tighter in this corset because they thought she could have, I think they wanted her waist to be more snatched, if you will. And that's not what this corset does.
No, it's not curvy like that.
It's not curvy like that. It's not meant to do that.
It's coming off of the 1860s style. Like, it hasn't transitioned massively into anything really super curvy yet.
90s.
And when you look at the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s, the hips are going away, but there's no reason to bring in your waist really tiny when you're wearing a cage crinoline or a bustle. You have so much width or depth on you. Your waist looks like nothing in comparison to the fact that now your hip has grown 30 inches.
Yeah. like it doesn't matter.
There's no reason.
Too, with this shape is there's some gentle curving, absolutely. But
like bust sits low, like you're not getting, there is not the hourglass curve. It's just a little bit curved in and then
the horizontal cording that wraps around is meant just to hold the fabric in place, hold it against the body, and then add that level of support.
And another note, like, you can see just how flexible and lightweight this is. Hence why we're just like crumpling it up.
Yeah, like she's...
This is not hardy and heavy. This is not armor. This is very lightweight.
The hardest and heaviest thing is literally the spin bust.
It is there to support the skirt and give a little bit of support to the bust in this era. Not a lot.
Because it's low.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to address that because that is the idea that that's what the body should always look like. There's a whole slew of reasons why we think that. I actually write about it extensively in my book that will be coming out, I think, sometime next year. I'm still waiting. I'm in the dev edit process. But essentially...
I need it for classes.
I know. I'm like, I'm doing the best I can, guys. We are led to believe that that's what corsets are always supposed to do, but the reality is when you look at the antiques themselves, you realize that's not the case. Hey, does this fit? It's fine. This is not important. The important part is this down here and this right here. So that bustle was mine, and I had made it, God, like,
oh yeah,
10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I never made anything to go with it.
Yep.
And so, like, when it was time to do this, I was like, well, I have this. So long as it can, like, kind of wrap around her front, that's all that matters. So I'm like, well, we have a smaller hoop here at the bottom, and that will just kind of help hold the skirts out, but she needs to be able to move her legs. And so I just ripped it because it was like, it doesn't matter. No. It doesn't matter. But like that was just an example of something that was not her size, no longer my size. No. And it was just like, well, screw it, we'll make it work, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, so that's why I was like, it doesn't matter. Because it didn't.
It's gonna appear.
Which is used to smooth out the lobster tail-esque ridges of the bustle and
too
add
bad.
even more volume.
Petticoat.
Oh, the back is backing.
This was the end of the day.
Yeah.
We were tired.
Tiny homes have really gone too far. They've really gone too far.
I guess in our case, it's more like a covered wagon.
Where are we going? There's nowhere to go.
The fact that we pulled that off, though, I'm very impressed by Sophia and I's ability
All of
to
our
coordinate
Victorian
together.
undergarments, we can move on to the actual dress.
That fabric sucked.
Okay.
Oh my God. It was awful.
It was like black and white striped taffeta. It was
not taffeta. It was a twill weave.
Like a drapey, like tie fabric. Like it was meant to be for a cravat or something.
Yeah.
Or a lining at best.
It didn't have any crisp to it. It didn't have like any body to it.
None.
It frayed when you looked at it.
Yep.
And so underneath of that thing, I had at least one layer of tarlatan.
Yeah, you fully,
in the ruffles.
Yeah, there was tarlatan. You had the glazed cotton.
Yeah, I was like, I think I put glazed cotton in the. I
faced
faced it in glazed cotton too. There's a lot of fabric in that lower area because I also wanted to make sure that it held everything out. It could support the weight of the skirt. At the time, we weren't sure if we were going to do a train or not because the antique petticoat actually has a detachable train. We just never really got around to doing it. Also, she didn't really need it because she was dancing.
It looked good without it.
It looked good without it. It also. I never quite finished the back exactly. It was like a little bit on the large side.
Oh, yeah.
But it kind of worked out because then we would just kind of wrap it around the front and tie it. I was like,
crisscrossed by a few inches and wrapped it around the front. I was like, do we need to redo this waistband? Nah, it's fine.
Nah, it's fine. But again, that's why we like to do like a functional mock-up because at the time, like I said, the petticoat and the corset and even the mock-up of the bodice were actually all done before we got there. So then that way we could spend those 48 hours just focusing on the exterior garments. And so there was a lot of educated guessing being done beforehand.
Yeah.
And dark accessories and
Turns out we have a
trims
lot of
are what
black
we're
trim.
going to use later to make our dress goth. But first we need the dress itself.
Less now.
Cue 48-hour Abby and Nicole sewing montage. And also cue me attempting to explain what they did. Maybe in Abby's video she can actually tell you.
Okay, fine, I'll do it. Say less, Sophia. I love to make petticoats with gowns using the skirt pattern for the petticoat, because essentially you're making a functional mock-up. It doesn't have to fit perfectly around the waist or the hips, it needs to fit good enough. So you can kind of get a feel for what might be a fit issue, but also you know that means the skirt will hang perfectly over top of it. And all that you do is just adjust a little bit of the fullness.
Pleat it back instead of gather it, or whatever.
Just little
it
things
is.
like that.
Yeah.
And then that way you don't have to worry about, is it gonna make my outer skirt lay weird?
What you do for the bodice is you fit the lining and then take it all apart and then cut the fabric to fit that on top of it, but that's already your lining.
Yeah.
The back is out of a muslin because we knew that was going to be where the most adjustment was going to happen in terms of getting over the butt.
Because while that bodice is absolutely shaped to go over a bustle, it's like not the same.
The height of the back, the tilt of the waist, it's so many things happen back there. I'd have to be doing that from scratch, essentially, like rough shape and then adjust from there. Threw that together, threw it on her, good enough, mostly pinned together, pull it off, then lay it out as a pattern and cut everything to match.
What adjustments did you make for making it off the shoulder?
It wasn't much of anything because it wasn't super far off the shoulders. We kind of kept it in a very like moderate position.
Yeah, it wasn't all the way down here. It was...
Yeah, we weren't going the full 1860s where you can't raise your arms. We kept it a little higher because it's kind of transitioning its way up. Hasn't gone to fully like tank top look yet. It basically was just a little bit further out than the actual.
Okay, because I didn't watch you do any of that because I was obviously in my own little
there
world.
really was almost no change to it. Like you can see in the mock-up version, it's all the way up to the neck and we just drew.
Yeah, and we definitely futzed with it
Yes.
a couple of times.
Yeah,
she
just-
doesn't show all of that.
Just to get like what height of neckline you want, because it also looks different with trim on it, exactly where it needs to be, whether it's straight or whether it's got a little bit of curve or a V, or exactly how much happened in the shoulders, all that sort of stuff. So it's basically trying to figure out on her, where is too low versus too high, where is that very flattering sort of line that cuts off in the right place. Like how much décolletage are we showing? Which is not a modesty thing, it's just a what looks good balanced with like the length of her head and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like, it's such a hard thing to explain because it's literally, you just look at it and you go, this is right or this is wrong. There was just so much of us standing back going, okay, what if we just angle the curve a little bit more this way? And like, let's see how that looks. And so we're talking like, just like fractions of inches, millimeters of adjustment just to kind of get it to sit where we felt like it looked the best on her. So I was just curious, like, I wonder what Nicole ended up having to like,
No, it was literally,
if she had to move like the shoulder, how much of the shoulder movements
I
you had to
gave
do.
a little bit of extra there just in case.
Yeah.
And I had left a lot in the shoulder area just because that is the place where between like modern and historic, that's the biggest difference with people. We have bigger shoulders because we do a lot more physical stuff than a lot of fancy women did in the 19th century. Regular women were certainly doing physical stuff.
And then we also added padding.
Yes.
Which one singular booby pad went on a adventure in my house.
One got stitched in and the other did not, and then it disappeared for a while.
And then I think I literally found it like the day before we left.
Yes. They're set not over the bust, but just above, because
Like
right
in this
here,
area.
when you're wearing sleeveless things that are structured, you tend to get this gap space in the armpit because you need it loose enough to go over your arms and allow your arms to move. But once you do that, you kind of get this hollow right here, and it's the same thing in menswear. They do it in both men's and women's wear. It's called the hollow. Just needs to be padded out with just a little squish right in that area to mean that it sits out smooth rather than kind of crumpling when you bring your arm forward. It's the same reason men's suits have horsehair in that area. It's crumple zone.
Yeah, and it just kind of also helps build out the bust ever so slightly to, again, like help with those proportions and the illusions, because it's one of those things historically. It's not necessarily a numerical size that matters, it's about proportion, right? And so adding that little bit of padding to the bust just kind of helped smooth and round everything out. And I have several garments that have,
Oh yeah.
like, it's very, very common.
Yeah.
Bodice, which involved a lot of finessing,
Like your
cutting and fitting
eyelids.
the panels together,
Oh, yeah.
shaping and flattening the seams, and also doing some very intricate hand sewing on
a lot
these
of tiny
eyelets for
eyelets.
the back of the bodice, which seemed hard, but she dominated, and Abby took
I
on
do
the
a lot of
skirt,
eyelets.
which was notably enormous.
This thing is massive.
It took 2 of us
Yeah.
to lay that out.
Details at the back was the other developments during this mad sewing dash.
We're going on a mission.
Listen,
Abby combat rolled across the warehouse to kidnap a mannequin she was
before we get to that. Thank you, MJ. Before we get to that part, I think the thing with the skirt, the craziest part was just the pieces were so big.
Yeah.
That you tried to pin them out, and you struggled so much that it took 2 of us, like, smoothing it and crawling on the table in order to get those pieces dealt with. Like, how big of a surface they must have historically had for this.
It was crazy.
Because it was both directions. It was just
huge.
and a little bit off, and everything goes, because you're flatlining, so you're connecting the 2 pieces together, so they have to
3.
be exactly. Oh yeah, that's right, it was 3.
It was 3. Tarlatan in the middle.
Tarlatan in the middle.
Yeah.
And everything wants to move differently.
Yeah, and the tarlatan did not want to behave.
No, so we had to lay it all out flat.
And we also had the
smoothly,
tiniest little ironing board.
And like, oh yeah, we just had like barely a sleeve.
is so little, it was so
And so we're just like trying to get these things lined up. One person's like holding down on the other side while the other person's smoothing out, and then we get pins in there, stab ourselves a bunch of times as we're smoothing things. Got in there with some really big basting stitches that went
we had
down
to
the
baste
center,
everything.
down the sides, around all the edges, like everything had to get basted multiple times, because the moment you picked it up to stitch it on the machine, it just bleh.
And so the reason why we did this is so you can see in here this white fabric, this white netting, that's tarlatan. I think that having just tarlatan in here would be uncomfortable.
It's really lightweight, but it's a little stiff and scratchy.
Yeah, it's not the softest. I wanted to go ahead and add polished cotton to line the skirt. And polished cotton is also usually the most common skirt lining. It gave it a lot of body, but that tarlatan, even though it's literally a grid, it was never on grain.
Yeah.
Man shirt, short skirts. Oh, what?
You want to know where we are today at the time we're at.
Man, I feel
So we get the dog supercut for Christmas. When do we get the Abby just literally at the end of the day supercut from every single thing we've ever heard?
The mask is off, motherfuckers!
It's just this, the whole thing.
Still haven't received my official diagnosis yet.
It's just Abby singing and dancing. Over and over. Did you cut
But it made extra sense for you to add the 3rd full lining layer, in large part because we knew we were going to be adding potentially some heavy trim on top of it. We needed it to be stable. Also, we're getting in and out of cars and doing modern stuff in these skirts, which is a lot tougher on your clothing than historically they would have dealt with.
Yeah.
Like the odds of you catching something, we didn't know what the ball was going to be like. We didn't know if the weather would be good. We didn't know what sort of car we're going to be getting into. So it's just easier to have things not be fragile in a way that we don't have the ability to fix at the event easily.
Yeah, because like if you had caught that tarlatan on like a rhinestone or a fingernail or anything,
A shoe heel,
it would have just ripped.
It fully rips so fast.
Yeah, and so it was just a security thing. But that made the skirt extremely robust.
Hefty.
It's hefty. It is a hefty skirt.
This thing is massive.
I know, right?
What? Oh, that was perfect.
Oh, was I like completely hidden?
Yep.
But it held up really well. It
will
held
hold-
the shape beautifully.
It will hold up to anything at this point. Yeah.
One of the most common assumptions with, and I thought this for the longest time until I started collecting this time period, you have to have your bodice, then you have to have your overskirt / apron, then you have to have your skirt. But what I realized when I started collecting, including this skirt itself, that overskirt or apron is actually not as common as what you might think. And very often the skirt just made to kind of look like it had that. We could have done a more covered overskirt in the back, but I thought the cartridge pleats were just so pretty that I didn't want to cover them up. I was like, they're beautiful, like with all that structure. And then I lost my mind.
We were working long hours. very intensely for 2 days in a row after driving for 10 hours.
Oh my god, we were exhausted. So let's watch me be weird.
Mannequin she was definitely already allowed to use.
How you doing over there?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Floor time.
I don't remember doing the worm. I have no recollection of doing that.
I remember you doing it, but I don't know at what point. It was because
I think it was the first day, because the sweater I was wearing, I think it was day one.
Yeah, it was,
That might have been post like cutting everything out in Tarleton, and I was
Yes.
like,
How you doing over there?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Floor time.
You look like a slug on this.
A slug?
You're just like a black line with some stuff at the end.
Can I do this one? I hope they have security cameras, and I hope they're enjoying this right now. Like, it's not slippery enough for me to do the slug. I can do it in the silk pants, but the shirt's too great. What do we want to do for dinner?
day 2 we were able to lock in a little bit more and just sit down and sew.
so yeah,
Day 1 was cutting things out and
it was a lot.
yeah, because you're just doing, and you're also doing all the plans. Like
Yeah.
day 2 we were just locked in and doing seams.
I think the thing with the dress form, we were left there unsupervised quite a bit. Oh, did she lose her legs? I lost her legs.
Oh, I think you might have just taken it off of.
I'm a terrible spy.
Yikes.
They work later hours and they do a lot of stuff at a different location.
Well, and also we were there on the weekend. No one was there.
Except for a cat who was very much a
Cosmo, yeah.
Kitty, kitty, meow, meow. He is not looking. What do you see? Do you see yourself, buddy?
Oh. Buddy sees himself. We're visitors in their house, right? Like we're friends, absolutely, but still, like you don't know, like when it comes to like work stuff, like what is, what's in use, like what can be used, like, or is something broken? You don't know it.
Oh.
That's a hello.
So skirt. You can hide a whole turkey back there.
From the skirt, which was just as huge as
I put 2 pockets in that skirt.
Oh yeah. No,
It got cut.
Yeah.
There are pockets in that skirt.
What's happening?
I am stitching in a pocket. One of 2, actually. So the original skirt doesn't have a pocket, but pockets were really common in women's clothes, especially women's skirts throughout the 19th century. So we are adding 2 for Sophia. One's gonna be just for like phone, wallet, whatever she needs, lipstick, and then the other one's actually specifically so that way we can put her mic receiver in case she needs it during the ball. She never even mentioned it. Yes, there's pockets in this dress.
It has pockets.
It has. It had 2 big pockets, 2 massive honking pockets.
Yeah, because turns out you can hide a lot in there.
You can. I think she forgot she had pockets.
She did. Yeah,
Yeah.
she did. She kept trying to hand stuff to
And and I was like, girl, you've got like 2 massive pockets.
Can you hold this? And we're like, ma'am.
You got a pocket. And then she
your
couldn't
body.
find. We were like,
She found stuff later that other people were putting in there.
Trey.
An ashtray.
another excellent time by a time.
That's pretty good, Ty.
One more thing about the skirt, because I think this would be surprising, because I did this in the petticoat as well as in the final skirt, but we don't show that because that had to happen after the center back scene was like done, is that, this is gonna blow people's minds.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys see this right here? Yeah, that's elastic. This is 1870s elastic.
That's what keeps it.
So it's for the back. It's to help hold it in place and keep it in place over the bustle. And they used elastic, so then that way we had that give, that ebb and flow. And you can see in this one too, which boob has the padding.
I think now is
Yeah.
the time where we can start figuring. Tuberculosis was the sexy one. That is a whole other can of worms that we aren't going to be opening right now.
So open it now.
I love the fact that the comments were like cueing John Green. It was like, no, we were talking to John Green about this the whole time.
And someone mentioned the book, and it's like, Did you not read the back?
Did you read the section where he talks about tuberculosis as fashion? Hi, we're
in it. Go to the acknowledgements. We're there.
We harassed John plenty about things.
But yeah, so anyone making the John Green reference?
He knows.
It's a circle.
There's a very small group of us. We all know each other.
Yeah. I forgot that we did it like that, and I was like, oh, that looks really good. We didn't do it final version like that, but God, when we did that,
it just suddenly looked historically accurate in a way that normally, like, we're close, but no.
And a few months later.
Okay. And a few months later, 2 weeks before the event, we went.
Okay, so really quickly,
we've had a busy.
It's been a crazy. It's been.
This year has been a lot.
It's been a lot.
It's not done.
I think I moved.
Yeah.
I was moving into here.
Yeah, that's why we did everything at my place instead of your, because you were already in the process of.
I was already in the process of moving. We did the test with a bunch of trims that we had in our own stash.
It's like, do we need organza, or do we need chiffon, or do
gauze,
we need gauze?
or georgette?
Yeah, and because it's like gauze is the sheerest and lightest weight and looks the most cobwebby, but it's also the worst to work with.
So guess what we got?
We got gauze.
We got gauze.
But we also knew, based off of what we did, that we could probably manage it with very little effort. We're like, okay, it's gonna be drapey. We're not hemming this.
Yeah.
The raw edges are going into secret places.
Yes.
Up at the waistband and folded behind trim.
Yes.
And no one will see them ever again.
Yeah. In the testing, we have more swaggity doos, where in the final product, it's a sheer lay. That was because that bottom was the selvage. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be sneaky.
Yeah, and there's kind of a point where, like, getting the balance of what trim in what place, and
it's hard to put words to it. It is very much we look at it, we step back, and we go.
It is a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
It is absolutely putting ornaments and garland on a Christmas tree.
Including like the step back and you do the squint thing to like make sure it's balanced.
A little more red over there.
But we also knew for a fact that there were a couple of core design choices that she wanted, and one of them was the ruching in the front, because that's in the antique. And so that was kind of like a nod to the original antique that we referenced.
It's a fun texture.
So that anchored the front, and then we knew the back swag anchored the back, and so then
like fill the space. And I started the bodice the same way. It was like, all right, I know the neckline needs to be done a certain way.
Yeah.
Because you can't just leave that raw. It would look weird. You need a little ruffle. You need a little trim there.
It's amazing how much stuff is actually up there.
Yeah, and I added
so much stuff is up there.
A little bit of sleeves, because that's typical for the era to have like just a little bit there. Like it's not a lot. It's just a little tiny puff that has a drawstring, so it gets adjusted to fit. And once I had like that and the first level of trim on, then we're like, all right, what's next? What do we add fringe? Do we add, some sparkle here? Do we add another swath of fabric? Do we add a ruffle? Do we add lace? And we just kept going.
Yeah. And we knew since it was a ball too, like I really wanted to add sparkle because it was a ball and this is where you can add sparkle. Why wouldn't we? Also, we knew what we were wearing, our old things that we wear all the time, and we knew
third wear of these things. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we also knew that we wanted her to fit within our group. So then that way she blended in, not blended in, she stood out. She was fucking gorgeous.
But it just didn't feel out of place.
But yeah,
this is the first time she's been to something like this, and it's one thing to feel like you belong to the event and fit within it, versus it is exceptionally actually awkward to be the person that enters an event full of people in white and black, all in red.
Yeah.
And movies love to be like, look at this really interesting person. It's more like you'd walk in and be like, oh, I missed the assignment.
It's more like Bridget Jones when she goes to the Tarts and Vickers party and no one told her it wasn't a Tarts and Vickers party. You don't want to be Bridget. And so we wanted to make sure that Saf felt as comfortable as possible. We did take into consideration like what we were wearing
What we were wearing and what friends were wearing.
And like everything else, so then that way we knew she wouldn't be worried about sticking out.
The time we left for Chicago, we were down to just the last few tacking on of things that we wanted to try it on her.
Yeah.
To make sure that nothing pulled weird.
Yeah. So what you don't see during the hair and makeup video is us working.
Oh, sewing.
At a frame. Yeah.
Yeah, this will, once you catch up to the part where it's also, and then the suit.
And then the suit, and we'll be talking about that.
So we're here on the day of the
I'm so glad
ball
she got
at
Ginny
the
to do
Drake
this.
College.
Yes.
That was scary. Ginny's flight got delayed. A bunch of their flights got delayed.
There were storms.
From storms.
Was gonna help
Yeah,
us
everyone
get
came
a
in
full
really late.
1870s look from head. It's a founding father.
That was so funny. I was.
Have to choose between them, but it turns out
Ginny did. Oh God, that hair.
Yeah, Jenny did such a good time with
That
it. Yeah.
hair. It's just. I remember she was like, "This is what I'm thinking." I'm like, "Perfect," because that's also what I had basically had in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
I just knew that.
Yeah, because we also worked with her. She's like, keep the back simple, make sure it's not going to catch on any curls, and so we don't put any of the beaded fringe or anything on back.
Yeah, we tried really hard to keep it as smooth as possible back there while still being complete.
Yeah.
There were so many damn bobby pins in her hair. Ginny did such an amazing job.
At the end of the night, as we were helping her get undressed and uncoiffed,
Like,
we didn't know what there was in there. We weren't there when she put them in.
no, I remember Ginny saying, like, this is where the bobby pins are.
Yeah.
Stay around the perimeter. Don't pull the bobby pins out from the middle.
Yes.
Because that's the hairpiece. They're on the thing.
Yeah.
And so, but at the end of the night, and it was like, what, almost 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
Us grandmas, we're
not.
We're exhausted.
We were surviving on French fries and adrenaline.
And I had been sick.
Oh yeah, you had been.
I had been sick. I had a sinus infection. So I remember at the night, because we were like, okay, yeah, we'll help get you out. And
I swear
and
I was
we
there
just
for
started
15
pulling
minutes, just ping, ping, ping.
But
ping,
we were
ping,
also
ping,
like
ping, ping around the edge.
basically stripping
Still
at the
in our
same
clothing,
time
yeah.
too. Like I was trying to get out of mine because I was like, I just need to be out of I need my arms to move, like to get her out. And then all of a sudden at one point I look over and like I was like, I'm sorry, Tyler.
Just fully like
I was like, I forgot that there was a man in here.
someone.
I was like, my bad.
Yeah, that's the reason why.
Go to the other room, sir.
I was still fully dressed at that point because what I was wearing underneath was not gonna.
I think I just went into like full theater mode and I was just like, whatever.
We're done.
I mean, oh God, I don't remember what it was, but yeah, Sophia and I also saw a lot of each other that day. Like, we were like, oh. And we were like, oh. We were like, well, fair is fair, right? But yeah, we were like, just going, like, and trying so hard to not damage the hairpiece either. Like, but we were just like, get out, get out, get out. I'm gonna say this because so many people have been commenting on her hair and makeup and everything. You all have no idea how good she looked. Like, genuinely, when you watch the last half of this video and you see me, and if I look like I'm mad and I'm staring, I'm not. I am just completely blown away by how beautiful she looked.
Yeah.
That green on hers.
Yeah.
Oh my
Silhouette,
God.
the color, everything.
Just.
And the best part was almost no one else did that time period or color. So
She stood out in a good way.
Yeah.
The camera does not do it justice how she, like with the hair, the makeup, and the final, she glowed.
Free the whole time. Help me back into our historical.
Yeah, we added an extra booty pad for extra oomph. Because of how like big that like and full it was, she needed even more oomph.
Which, as promised, was now fully bedecked with even more trim than we had seen last time.
Yeah, me back there, I look weird. I'm staring at her. I'm just staring at her. Satisfied.
I can sense a presence. There's a presence in the room. Abby, Nicole, Jenny Rose, and everyone who worked on it.
Christine embroidered a few different spider web motifs for us, like super, super fast. So we could like just add like little touches of spider webs. And then in the front of this one, my kind of thought with the front with the gauze was to also kind of like allude to a spider web and like having the single strands of sequins come down almost like a spider web motif, and then like obviously the gauze itself is very webby, and then you did the Bertha in the front with like the fringe. Again, a lot of texture, a lot of movement. I think that's something that also like people kind of miss when they do historic things. It's not just lace and this. It is 2 or 3 colors: lace, gauze, taffeta, satin, beads, spangles.
Yeah.
It's
You just keep adding until it's like, no, I think that's good enough.
and it's texture on top of everything else. So there's like we have the dotted Swiss in the neck, the satin ribbon, the embroidered spider, the beaded fringe, the silk taffeta with the black silk gauze over top of that as well. I think you had something here in the front. I can't remember what it was because it's darker there.
Oh, I just added more of the gauze.
I think it's just more of the gauze
just to cover up the.
Yeah.
It's like a little ruffle.
texture. Then on the bottom of the skirt, we have the front, like I said, with the spider web. But then I also went and added 3 layers of ruffles all the way around because you can't just have the back of the skirt be plain.
Yeah.
If you look at all those fashion plates she's showing, there's ruffles. I could have added more. I probably should have.
We ran out of fabric.
We ran out of fabric.
And time.
I gotta get dressed.
Tyler has to get dressed.
Oh.
My suit is in Memphis.
Now, Tyler originally had a black and white
what he was
tuxedo
gonna wear.
with tails that actually fit him. Unfortunately, that tuxedo got left at home and then express mailed and then got stuck in Memphis.
The day, like, of the ball in the morning, producer was like, we have a problem. Big problem. Don't freak out.
And we were just like drinking coffee like,
oh,
okay, what?
We got this.
Try us.
It was like the suit got left, and we're like, does he have his shoes though? And you were like, I'm gonna go call Christine because I know Christine's husband has at least one suit he's not wearing. Like, we know he's got multiple suits.
Yeah.
And I can tailor things down. You can't tailor things up very easily. Not that like that was likely to be the case, but you were just like, I just need a suit. Any suit, doesn't matter.
Christine and a few of our other friends were going to the American Girl doll store to do like afternoon tea before the ball, and
So
that
they-
was just like a couple blocks from where we were staying at the Drake.
So it's just dropped
And
it
so
off.
I call Christine. I'm like, hey, so we have a situation here.
Grab it.
And I was also like, at the time, like Lana like didn't want anyone to really know, and so I had to be like, I can't tell you who needs this.
Nobody freak out.
No one freak out. It's totally fine. I just have a friend.
A friend who needs a suit suddenly.
A friend
will
who
take
needs
care
a
of
suit
it.
suddenly.
Yeah.
That you don't know him. Don't worry about it.
Nobody tell anyone.
And so I was wondering if like you could bring like one of your husband's suits that he's not wearing.
Yeah,
I stood in the
I was
American Girl
sewing.
doll store like a weirdo, waiting for Christine to show. She handed me the goods. Was I in my corset by that time? I might have been. And then I had to like hoof it back.
Yeah, we should have gotten pictures of what it looked like on him before the alteration.
I think we ended up shoving up like 4 inches in the hem of the pant.
Oh yeah.
It was crazy.
It's dramatic size difference.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good 4 or 5 inches out of the waist, 4 or 5 inches off the hem. The shoulders I took up a couple inches each.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, you're just like shoving it in there.
yeah, I made it work. I don't know how that happened, but
There
it
was no
worked.
safety pins involved.
Nope. Everything was fully stitched in, and then it just ripped out, and I shoved the shoulder pads and all that stuff back in the next
And
day.
that was also
and
like a
fixed where the sleeves were.
Super tight turnaround too, because like we were leaving.
Yeah, we were leaving.
But to
Christine
clarify, we were
Christine-
driving back
Yeah,
that
Christine was
morning, that
leaving.
afternoon.
Christine left the hotel, and we didn't know when she was going to get up, but she left the hotel like 9:30.
Yeah.
And so I basically,
And she was like, oh, you just mailed to me. And we were like, no,
I don't want that responsibility in my life.
no, no, God, please, no.
I want this done. I don't want to
Like-
think about it again. In the elevator, like running to find her.
Yeah, like, and just barely caught her so we could
As she
hand it
was
off.
getting into the Uber.
Yeah, that suit was funny. But honestly, I thought he looked great.
Yeah, for what we had and the time that we had, I'm
Which was-
pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no complaints. like, just luck and gratefulness that it all worked out timing-wise with
His
Christine.
pants didn't fall down,
They didn't fall down.
and he didn't rip anything.
Nope.
That's all I ask.
That's annoying me. I'm gonna critique my own self. I don't know why it did this, but the front of her hem just kept wanting to flip up a little bit.
We just need to put weights in it. Yeah.
Oh, it pissed me off. I see it on this and I'm just like,
Yeah, the hem and the one shoulder.
And people were definitely hyping us up
God, it
as we
looked
made
good,
our way
though.
through the hotel. So I was feeling good.
okay, this is like completely random. My hair was such a mess.
Oh yeah, we were like, we're not wearing wigs.
We're not wearing
curling
wigs.
it. We're curling short hair and going for it.
And I thought that like I had taken it out with enough time for it to kind of relax, just to be kind of like full curl. No. Also, I weirdly look like my grandmother. It freaks me out in this shot, like from here down. I'm like, oh my God, I look just like my grandmother. Anyways, yeah, my hair was a dumpster fire, but I was just like, whatever. The only thing I cared about was making sure Sophia looked and felt good. That's the only thing I cared about.
The peekaball experience. Being stuffed in the Uber. This is exactly.
Who did play really fun music for us.
Yeah, he did.
He got the agenda.
He had a good time
we
with
knew.
us.
The photo room.
Always do photos first.
Always.
And her husband, who was one of the heroes of the night.
You see the height difference there?
Anytime.
Really appreciate it. For some reason, I
Okay.
had the impression.
I didn't say she's mine because I'm like, oh, she's my friend, like I'm pissing on her like a dog. I was saying she's mine because it's the dress. Like I'm like, this is my doll. This is my model.
I need to fix this.
This is my work. And so I just was like, every photo she's got to look perfect.
Yeah.
I was judging. I was bridesmaiding the ever-loving shit out of her because that was all I cared about. I literally could have gone to that thing. I'm not kidding, guys. In basketball shorts and a t-shirt, I wouldn't have cared. I am beyond caring at this point. I just was like excited about what she looked like, and I wanted to make sure that those photos came out so good and that her dress was laying perfectly, because we also knew that she was going to do a video. It was like, you don't want to spend the money on these photos because it's like Lindsay Hinderer, her turnaround for these balls is really quick. And so if you don't have someone zhuzhing you, like I just kept zhuzhing people because I'm like, we're not spending money on beautiful portraits and having something look bad. I'm not doing it.
A ruffle flipped up, yeah.
Not having that. Lindsay can't do it. She's taking the photos. I will zhuzh. If you're in my vicinity, I will zhuzh you. You can be a stranger. And I will be like, excuse me.
The theater comes out, yeah.
I need to get down here real fast. And we're floofing. Like, so with Sophia, and I'm like, she's mine, and it's like, that was what that meant.
For a very long time.
I didn't know this happened. This is so funny.
So now we totally messed up our first attempt. Turned out better.
I'm glad Vanity Tint Type was there too.
Please.
You see Chrissy?
Class in preparation for this.
Okay, I'm gonna pause it here because people asked about
Matthew
this.
in the very first shot of this.
Because people noticed women were in menswear.
Which I almost did.
Which, yeah.
Except I would have had to make a pair of pants, and I just...
I was like, no.
I didn't have time.
But some people were like, oh, were there, men in women's clothes as well? And I say it this way just because of gender preferences and everything else. Yes, there were. You can actually see Matthew in the back of this. His name's Matthew Carlson. He's on Instagram. He does beautiful work. And he looks incredible.
He also knows his era.
Yeah, he knows his era. But the thing is, like, you don't notice him because he's so good at it. The only way it's because he has a mustache. That's the only way you know. Like, you won't be able to tell. Like, I can tell because I know what Matthew looks like, and he's taller than, like, everybody else. This is the gallop. So I'm dancing with Chrissy over here, and then Matthew's over there, and then eventually at one point Matthew and I end up together, and my sinus I should not have been dancing the gallop after I could barely breathe, and I made Matthew dance off the floor with me. I was like, I'm gonna die. Take me off. With these balls, especially the ones that Christine does, it is gender expression, however you wish. It's whatever you want to do.
It's a lovely family.
It's
everybody is so darn friendly, and that was the thing that feels like I'm really nervous, because she'd never been around most of these people, and everyone was just
so nice,
easygoing. Everyone just wants to chit chat, but in like it's like so comfortable.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know anyone.
Especially with Christine's balls because of how she runs them and how
There's always a space that you feel comfortable in, whether it's on the floor, off to the side, at a table.
Our girl can
in
host
the
a party.
drinks, and like there's little lounges, there's little spots. Like there's just, where do people need to sit or stand to feel like good?
So there's always places to go, but it's also really inclusive, and it's meant to be welcoming for everybody. So I just wanted to like point that out because I know other people had brought that up.
Skill.
God, look how good she looked. They ate. I think I had like a macaron.
Oh no, I went and got a whole bunch of stuff.
I don't know how she knew.
We ate before we went, but also.
And it's good that they were next to Estrella for this because Estrella is really good at calling, essentially.
Should we go get some absinthe? All right, let's go.
We did not drink because I was on Sudafed. I was on a lot of Sudafed. Yeah, she did. I remember too. I was like, I don't think it's supposed to look like that, but I don't drink absinthe though. Just like Sophie's walking, just like, I got this.
This is the most so steaming ever.
It is.
It's a special absinthe that she's like
gets it.
Sways over and
she had imported from France.
Is this where I'm getting hazed? Am I getting hazed?
There's
right
a gym.
Yeah.
Added the sugar and water.
By that point, it was kind of like at the end of the night. They're drinking absinthe. I think it's allowed.
Is it stronger?
Oh, and you could tell. It was so funny when after her and Tyler had it, we were like, whoa.
When it hit. We were like, shit, I think we're drunk.
So funny. And we could not. What was so funny is like
find them. They like disappeared. We're getting ready to leave, and we're like,
where are they?
We don't know where they were.
I mean, it was like Scooby-Doo, where I think we all just kept going up and down the stairs, like at different times. Just could not find them. And then, they're like,
and
whoa.
we finally found them in the lobby going,
and we were like, whoa. They're like, we had a great time. We're like, yeah, you did. You got so steamed. Like, you got cornered by the doctor.
And with a Chicago-style hot dog in hand.
Like, you and I silently was like eating the French fries, just letting them film. Okay, so yeah, Portillo's was crazy.
Well, it's 2 a.m. on a weekend. Stop it.
But there was someone there that you don't see. EMS showed up.
Yeah.
Fire department showed up.
Not a good time.
And we were just like sitting there in our outfits.
And
like,
we are not the most interesting thing in the room.
We're not the most interesting, but also we were like awkwardly close to like what was happening. And so we're trying to be like, so did you get the shot?
Like, how's it going?
And then it's like EMS and we're just like,
no one thought we were at all weird.
Yeah, no, we were not the most interesting people there.
Like a couple people asked us the standard like, what's going on?
Yeah, what's
like,
happening?
This isn't prom, what's happening sort of vibe. That was about it.
Yeah, so that was a really fun way to end it. And then yeah, we crashed and burned. I was very proud of the work that we did and like what we accomplished. And the vision came to life.
It was gorgeous.
I am looking forward to whenever we decide to do another one with her. I know people want to, and frankly, I think we should. I think it was great.
Yeah.
One of the issues with like sewing videos is that when you're only making things for yourself, you don't actually always get to enjoy it in the same way. And that's why with Sophia, I am so glad we did it, because there was nothing better than watching her move in the space, get compliments. Like people didn't even know it was her. And they were coming up to her being like, you look beautiful, like, did you make this? And then
like, do I know you?
Yeah, they're like, do I know you?
Were you at one of the previous events?
And Sophia's like, no. And so seeing people enjoy her gown, but also being able to see the gown on her and move. Because when you spend so much time making it and then you wear it, you don't get to see it. You get to feel it, but you don't get to see it.
Yeah.
And so being able just to watch her glow and become more you could watch her become more comfortable as like the night went on too. Like, because for a while I was nervous like that she wasn't gonna like it, or like she was like feeling a little insecure. And then it was like, no, you look so beautiful. So like, so beautiful. Yeah, I like that a lot better.
Everything worked out. It was so much fun for everybody, which is the best way to come out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody leaving going, I want to do that again. Okay, good.
Absolutely, yeah. Like her and Tyler were like, yeah, let's do it. Like, it was awesome. So anyways, that was it.
It was lovely. Now, I think we need to find our next victim.
Or just our next one with Sophia.
Well, we do have a victim in the fall. You gave me a victim.
Oh, we do have a victim. I forgot about that one. You guys will never guess who our next victim is. You'll never guess.
You handed me a victim.
I did. I forgot on a platter.
Yes.
I did. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, I'm Abby.
I'm Nicole.
And forgive me for my dogs. Okay, love you. Bye.